Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to Get Hit with the Truth. So today we're doing a What's Next on undefeated middleweight contender Hamza Shiraz following another stellar victory as he dominated Tyler Denny, I think his name was, in 2 rounds. A second round TKO victory on the huge Joshua Dubois Riyadh season pay-per-view undercard that was on the Zone that took place on September 21st. Now, before we get into that, if you could smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel, I really do appreciate any and all support that I can get as I continue to build my channel here. So Shiraz went in against a guy who pulled off an upset over, Jesus, I forget the guy's name that he beat. It was a middleweight contender on the rise. He pulled off a technical decision upset and went in against Shiraz, who was on fire. Shiraz is making a play for middleweight of the year. I don't think his wins are strong enough for fighter of the year, but he's definitely should be considered something like that. He's 3-0 this year, destroyed Liam Williams in 1 round earlier in the year, and then followed that up on the 5 versus 5 card. It got ton of exposure, took on fellow undefeated Austin Ammo Williams, faced some adversity in that fight, but broke Williams down and stopped him in 10, and then he destroys Tyler Denny in only 2 on another big Riyadh season card. So now the big question is, what's next for Hamza Shiraz? Well, we already know just a couple days ago it was announced the WBO has ordered Janibek Alamanhalai, the champion, the unified champ, because he holds the IBF title as well. They've ordered him to make a mandatory defense against Shiraz next. Will he take that fight? You know, that's the big question. So Janibek is actually at the top of the list, so we'll take a look at him first. I personally feel Janibek is going to fight Shiraz because Janibek's been looking for a big fight. Janibek has a ton of power, and I think this is the fight to make at 160 right here. And I think they'll both get big exposure. I know Turki Al-Sheikh will put it on a Riyadh season card, so why not? And to be honest, if Janibek feels okay after the recent destruction of Andre Mikhailovich, because he's only fought once this year, why not fucking fight? Why not make the fight for the Fury Usyk 2 undercard? Might be a little too soon. 2.5 months, you know, in between fights, and he went 10 against Mikhailovich, but I don't think Janibek took a ton of damage. And again, he hardly any. He dominated the action, but he did take some shots. But he also hasn't fought. I mean, prior to that, he hadn't fought in a calendar year, and even those 2 fights against Gualtieri last year and against I think it was Stephen Butler, he destroyed both those guys. You know, didn't face any adversity. So Janibek, maybe that fight could be possible for the end of the year. At the very minimum, it should be like part of the very first Riyadh season card in 2025. Then there's WBC champion Carlos Adames. Now, he's the number 1 contender over there. He could forego the fight and wait the WBC to order him to fight Carlos Adames instead. But I really believe Janibek is the one because he's got 2 titles and he's sitting at the top of the division. So why go back and fight a guy like Adames? You know, I mean, it could happen. It could happen. And Shiraz will get whatever he wants. He'll get on the Riyadh season card, so it won't matter. But that's 1 title versus 2, and Janibek's considered to be the number 1 middleweight in the world. So why not just go after Janibek? But we'll see. We'll discuss that after. Erislandy Lara, I don't see it. Shiraz is ranked. He's not even, is he even ranked? He's ranked number 6 in the WBA. Lara's 41. Does Lara really want to fight a young, big, undefeated fighter like Shiraz? Not unless he has to, and he doesn't have to. So I don't see that one. You got Chris Eubank Jr. This is a fight that was being talked about. Eubank is in the possible mix for Canelo. We know that, but I don't think he's going to get the Canelo fight next year. And Shiraz is a big name. He's undefeated, big middleweight. So, and Eubank has fought at 168 before too. So I think this one definitely could be in play. Eubank's fighting actually tomorrow night against Ziramita. A victory puts Eubank right in that serious mix against, a guy like Shiraz. So this one could be a possibility. But Shiraz would have to forego a mandatory shot, and I don't know if he's willing to do that. Then you got Liam Smith, another one that could be possible. Smith's got a big name. So, you know, Shiraz might say, fuck a title shot right now. I want a fellow Brit on an undercard, you know? So that one's a possibility. Kyrone Davis with the PBC's coming off a big win over Elijah Garcia, but I don't see the 2 sides working together. Davis not a big enough name for Shiraz right now to go after. when he's got other better options. Shane Mosley Jr., I mean, I'm sure Shiraz would like that, but Mosley's the number one contender in the WBA. He's going to go after a title shot or wait around for it now that he's the number one contender. I don't think he's going to waste that by fighting Shiraz next. So I'm going to say no to that one. A rematch with Austin Ammo Williams, that's a down-the-road fight, hopefully, but not next. That's not going to happen. Terrell Gausha, a former world title challenger, had a spirited performance against Adames. You know, you could argue that maybe he won that fight, but I don't think Gausha is going to get a shot at Shiraz, and Shiraz just has better options. Charlo won't fight Shiraz. Elijah Garcia is coming off a loss to Davis. Makes no sense. Vicente Gualtieri, I mean, if he can't get nothing else, I guess a former champ like Gualtieri, but Janibek beat the shit out of Gualtieri, so why Shiraz? That wouldn't make any sense. And then some of the other guys that are ranked highly in the, at middleweight right now, Myram Nursultanov, if he wants to take a mandatory final eliminator over a title shot, the WBC could order that. Because they're the top two contenders there, but I don't see that. Like, why take that? Connor Coyle, I don't see that one. Denzel Bentley, he's a number 2 contender in the WBO right now, but Shiraz has already been ordered to fight for the title, so why take Bentley, even though Bentley's a Brit, so which, a UK fighter like Shiraz, but I just don't see that one. Mikhailovich just got destroyed. Ian Green is ranked highly in the WBA, but I don't see it. And Nathan Haney, I don't see that one either. So Shiraz has a lot rolling for him right now. He's turning into a star, and we're seeing it right before our very eyes. He has an opportunity to fight Janibek. If Janibek wants to give up the belt, because there's been talks that Janibek, because he had the dehydration issue before the Mikhailovich title defense, that's what postponed it back in July, and it went forward in October. A lot of people are saying Janibek could be moving to 168 because 160 is too tough for him. If he decides to give up the belts, well, shit, that opens the door for Shiraz. It really does. Because here's the kicker. Shiraz is actually the top-rated challenger for both the IBF and WBO belts. Denzel Bentley's number 2, so that's an all-British fight for the WBO title if that one gets vacated. And then Chris Eubank's the next highest available contender in the IBF, but Bentley's not rated by the IBF. So, I mean, he probably could be. I'm sure the IBF would allow it, and then just Shiraz would have to make a mandatory defense against the next highest rated contender in the IBF after that. But, he could be fighting for a vacant belt if Janibek doesn't want to fight. So, it's going to be interesting. I personally feel that Janibek's the front runner, and that's going to be the fight. But if it's not, if Janibek decides to say no, then I think it's Denzel Bentley because he's the number 2 contender to WBO, and he's another United Kingdom fighter, and Shiraz would be a heavy favorite, and he would win a world title if he's victorious. But other options, if he decides to forego that, other options is Carlos Adames, the WBC champ. That could happen. Then I think there's Chris Eubank, Liam Smith are the next couple names on the list right there. So gonna be interesting to see what happens with Hamza Shiraz, but this guy's a rising star right in front of our eyes. Don't miss out on what happens with him, and hopefully he fights for a world title, and hopefully it's against Janibek because I think that's a great matchup. So we'll see what happens, but that's it. That's what I got. That's my what's next on undefeated middleweight contender, top middleweight contender Hamza Shiraz, following a destructive second round TKO victory over Tyler Denny on the Joshua versus Dubois September 21st Riyadh season pay-per-view undercard. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.